What's going on, everybody? So in this video we're going to be talking about what's going on in the NFT markets, as well as a couple updates with NFT LA while I am here. Now before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, first thing we got to talk about is what's going on in the crypto market. So Ethereum is at 1.8, Bitcoin is at 28K. So that's actually pretty high, to be honest. And so over the past 7 days, Ethereum, in a way, people are looking at it like it's bullish, right? But just be careful of your entry and exits, because when we're looking at the crypto fear and greed index right now, we're pretty greedy right now, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, could it go up? Maybe, right? Because markets can be easily manipulated by people who kind of control it. Now, when we're looking at the NFTs, here's where things get a little scary, a little bit. A lot of the money is coming out of NFTs, so a lot of people are selling NFTs and moving into alternative coins and things like that. So when we're looking at some of the top projects, they're actually losing a lot of traction when it comes to the floor price, right? If we're looking over the past 7 days, Bored Apes went from a 67 ETH price all the way down to a 56, so that's a 10 Ethereum drop, which is quite a lot. So we see Doodles is at 3.3, which is, you know, not very high. CloneX is at 3.2, so it just seems like overall people are kind of moving money outside of NFTs. Now you have to also understand that a lot of times markets move in cycles, right? So before in the past, the markets kind of moved from, like, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, then alternative coins, then NFTs, and it would just keep cycling in a circle. So it's just kind of like people playing a game of zero-sum game against each other. But in this situation, it could be that people are taking money out of crypto. That's possible. Or maybe it's just cycling into the bigger coins and maybe it'll come back into NFTs, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, Magic Eden, which has been competing to become top marketplace, competing against Blur, competing against Opensea, and all the other ones, they recently added Bitcoin into their marketplace, right? So if you go on to Magic Eden Ordinals, you're going to see some of the ordinal, like, basically just call it Bitcoin NFTs there. And obviously DeGods is going to be number one over here. Number two is the Bitcoin Bandits, which is kind of interesting. It's at a 0.1999 floor in Bitcoin, which is actually quite a lot. I mean, DeGods itself, they're doing really good, and they really understand like how to become the biggest fish in a small pond, and a small pond would be like the Bitcoin ordinal NFTs. They all did the same strategy in Solana. They kind of did the similar strategy in Polygon. Utes eventually goes to Polygon. They're going to be like the #1 NFT on Polygon, right? And so they definitely understand capturing that attention in markets where not a lot of people are competing. But DeGods is eventually going to move to Ethereum, right? So they're going to compete with everybody else. But, you know, the Bitcoin ordinals, they're going to be #1 for a while, in my personal opinion. And they did mint at a 0.33, and right now it's at basically a 3x. So that's really good on them. Next piece of news I want to talk about is going to be MapleStory. So MapleStory has officially partnered up with Polygon Labs. So they're going to be using Polygon for their main layer 2 chain of choice to power their MapleStory universe, right? And so that's basically going to be a reskinned game, or not reskinned, but they're going to take the old game, add blockchain elements to it, add NFTs to it for the items. So Polygon is kind of killing it when it comes to business development, because they have Starbucks under there, Utes is moving on to Polygon, and even Square Enix is also using Polygon as well for their new project, Symbiogenesis. You know, Polygon's been killing it, you know, especially in the Asian markets with MapleStory and Square Enix. So maybe in the future when things get a little bullish, they might be one of the chains to look out for. And then real quick, I want to talk about my experience in NFT LA so far. It's only been a couple of days, but so far I've been going to a couple events. You might have seen me go to the Valhalla event, which was actually pretty good, and I went to other events like the Omniforce events. Overall, I would say like the NFT market feels very small when I go to these events, which is not bad, you know what I mean? Like, it's good to see people still alive and thriving, but at the same time, it's not the same as like what New York NFT NYC was like last year. So definitely the space is getting smaller. You know, the money is not as much as it was before when it comes to just people like buying and selling NFTs, but that's okay. You know, building in the bear. Yeah, I think the people who are continuing to be in the space even during a bear, they probably will be positioned in themselves in the right way whenever the bull market does come. So I think this is a good time to really know who the real ones are and who actually wants to be in the space. Now, the next project I want to talk about is CloneX. CloneX has been receiving quite a lot of FUD recently, right? And the main reason is because the merchandise that they put out wasn't as high quality as people expected it to be. People felt like CloneX is not really taking care of their holders anymore ever since they got acquired by Nike and things like that. And a lot of times, you know, people want free money, and I think in Artifact Studios is focusing on more of the innovation tech side, which doesn't necessarily directly translate into free money. And I think because right now a lot of traders, you know, they look at their money as like precious and they want to make money with their money. If they're just holding CloneX and just waiting for something to happen, it's very unclear why they should hold it for the long run, right? Because people need some benefit today for why they should hold, right? And a lot of times, you know, a lot of projects, not just CloneX, but everybody, there's this balance of keeping the degens happy, keeping the free money flowing, at the same time trying to do something innovative in tech. In my personal opinion, as a CloneX holder, I think CloneX still is doing a lot of innovations when it comes to doing anything 3D, whether it's like AR, VR, avatar, but are they giving me free money? No, not necessarily, right? But hey, it's all right because I didn't really sign up for free money, but a majority of people, they do sign up for free money, right? But anyways, Artifact recently had this keynote, which I listened to the entire thing. It's at the NVIDIA GTC conference. Basically what they're kind of announcing is kind of like sharing all the things they've done in the past of like empower people with 3D, which they are leading in as a 3D project. Basically, they're partnering with NVIDIA to do some tech. This one is going to be like, basically, if you feed text into this AI, the 3D model is going to talk for you and it's going to be able to express emotion. So you don't even need a human person behind the clone. You can actually just feed the clone text and it could be like this virtual influencer or something, right? That's basically their big announcement that they made. And I think in the crypto world, not a lot of people care too much because crypto people want free money, right? They want to buy this to get this, to get this, to get this, and they're going to sell it all and make free money. But this, from a tech perspective, is actually quite innovative when it comes to like using a 3D avatar. So CloneX, I still think they're innovating a lot of fronts, but maybe not hitting the mark as well when it comes to keeping the current NFT market happy, right? And as things change and evolve and more mainstream people come in, maybe CloneX might be setting themselves up in the right way, but for the short term, it's a little tough, to be honest. Now looking into some GameFi projects, CCP Games recently has secured $40 million in funding led by A16Z to create the new AAA game EVE Universe. So EVE Online actually is a pretty popular game, right? It's like the #1 space MMO currently, and so I guess they're going to basically take this concept and turn it into more of a blockchain gaming, similar to how what they're doing with MapleStory, right? Taking a legacy game, adding blockchain into it. And when you actually look at the investors of this, you're actually going to see A16Z, which is basically in everything, Makers Fund, Bitcraft. They also have Nexon as well, which is also doing MapleStory. So they all work with each other to support each other's projects. So I mean, EVE Online is apparently a 20-year-old game, right? And it continued to still go, just like MapleStory. So I can definitely see taking an old IP and then reskinning it, or not reskinning it, but adding a blockchain element. Because if you think about it, a lot of the Web3 games, right, are really just older games that add blockchain element, or maybe they might be games that were already in development that maybe weren't getting much traction, but when they took the blockchain and added it to it and put it into the NFT market or the crypto market, people went crazy for it, right? I mean, so that's probably going to happen again, but using legacy IPs. And I think that's also a strong narrative, especially if you trade like alternative coins and stuff like that, because if you think about it, if they launch a token, which they may or may not, right, it's all about narratives. Like no game really like actually uses token that well. The only tokens, in my opinion, that really work are like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and everything else is like more of a speculation, to be honest. Coins can go up and down, right, regardless of whether the game comes out. So just keep that in mind, All right, so the next piece of news that we have is G-Dragon, right, the K-pop star, released an NFT on Binance, and he's doing it on Opensea. For the most part, it's not doing too well. Some people have minted it, but there's still a lot of supply left. And I think it's because people are a little unclear of like what this is supposed to be about. So if you go on the Opensea page, it's just going to be these puzzles, pieces, and I guess if you combine it together, it's going to make the whole thing. But I don't think it's the best attempt at an NFT project. And it's unfortunate because G-Dragon is such an icon, right? I used to listen to him so much in high school. I do think there's a lot of room for these agencies to come in and work with IPs and brands that are already kind of popular in Web 2, but bring it to Web 3. And I think right now the competition is pretty low. So if you're a builder or some sorts, and maybe you don't want to start your own project, helping other people is definitely a possibility. And I think right now, there's a lot of Web 2 agencies trying to do this, and they're moving into Web 3. The problem is that they're not really Web 3 native, right? They're not true degens. They don't even own any NFTs. And that's why a lot of these projects you see by big brands just don't end up good, because the people that are working on it are just kind of like faking it till they make it, to be honest. And I've met these people before, not this particular project, but just in general. So if you're a real degen and you want to create projects and you want to help people, I think right now is a beautiful time to get into the space, because if you know what you're doing, you can stand out from the rest of the competition, and it's much more easier, because these guys in Web 2, they're having trouble, transitioning into Web 3. And so there's I would say a gap of like a year or two to like become a industry thought leader or whatever in the space. So with that said, that is everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next one.